Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another evening of Straight Talk here at Middle Path Radio. I'm your host Kamal Hussein. Stay tuned and get involved in tonight's discussion. Call or text 074 77080 248 or tweet us at Middle Path Radio. This week, we will be reviewing some of the key news headlines. We will be looking at EU referendum, which has dominated the news here in UK. Also, some key events over in Pakistan and Bangladesh. The death sentence of Mumtaz Qadri in Pakistan, which was over the blasphemy law controversy. And we want to discuss why Bangladesh might drop Islam as the country's official religion. Yes, you heard me right. Bangladesh, 90% of the people are Muslims. They think it's sensible to get rid of Islam as a state religion. Call or text and let us know what are your thoughts and on these issues. 074 77080 248. Here to discuss these headlines, we have with us our regular panelists to this show. Alhamdulillah, we have Brother Abdul Samad and Brother Khairul Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
So, Brother Khairul, let me start with you. Recently, we are seeing a lot of news on EU referendum. How should we understand this, and does it affect us here in UK?
Thank you, my brother. Inshallah, let me try and shed some light on this. To understand the EU referendum, we need to understand EU, how it was formed, what it's all about, and we can see even some Muslim countries want to be part of it. Have been trying to be part of
Europe.
It. Yes, if you look at Turkey, they haven't been successful. I mean, they've been trying. They've been there for maybe 15, 20, 25 years now. They've been trying.
Okay.
And other countries jump over them and become part of the EU. But Turkey hasn't managed to do it.
Is it because it's a Muslim nation?
It might be.
Okay.
Maybe when we further down the discussion, maybe it will come out. Yeah, as those
Well, it's a
kind of
secular
things.
nation anyway. It doesn't claim to be Islamic.
Well, yeah, that's right. But even then, there's issues. I mean, but let's talk about EU.
Let's talk about the referendum.
EU. You need to understand EU, and then you need to understand why Britain was part of it, and now it's discussing whether it should be part of it or not. I mean, it's all started after World War II. I mean, we know the history of Europe. It's been nations fighting one nation against another.
Okay.
And now in the modern world, it's very difficult for any small nations to be able to do that. The colony time was finished. British colony was over. British Raj was over.
Yeah.
So now, what does Europe do? I mean, America's in the scene. America's massive and it's very powerful. At the same time, you had the Soviet Union.
So America became powerful after World War II.
Really, after World War II. But
Okay.
before that, you had the Soviet Union after World War I, which was formed as well. And then you had China and India, which were massive, if you like. So there was a need for Europe to have some kind of unity. Otherwise, for them to, in this world, for them to, because it's always a capitalist nation at the end of the day. America's capitalist. Most of Europe adopted this capitalist idea as well, this secular capitalist idea. So for them to unite on some kind of business venture wasn't a problem in that sense.
Was it because obviously before that they had many wars? And do you think it's because of the trading that they've actually had this unity, because of the trade laws?
What they realized was that there's something common, because they've all adopted the capitalist ideology, was business, trade, and doing business, etc. Yeah, and also to be able to go around and pillage people's resources. This is part of it, if you think about it. Yeah, as a small nation, for Britain, it became very difficult. Yeah, but with the mighty Europe, it would have been easier. So what they saw was if they were trading with each other, if they were doing business with each other, then it's less likely that they would fight each other.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
So that was the basis on having this treaty, European. So it was initially just a big market. But with that,
were they exploiting each other, or were they exploiting Far East and Africa and Asian nations?
it's still in the development process. If you think about it, Europe at the moment still, I mean, the cracks are open, isn't it?
I think the main reason for EU is actually a response to American hegemony across the globe in the the way it was sort of like
yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, that's what initiated it.
So it is more of an economic bloc, where they would have free trade.
So do you think that America
like
was a threat for EU? That's why they had to.
Well, they were definitely having. I mean, all these European countries were having a difficulty competing with the United States.
After World War II.
After World War II, yeah. So, and for that reason, I mean, they even come up with the euro as a common currency within the European Union to compete with the dollar to some extent, So these sort of things are actually.
When you mean by compete with the dollar, what do you mean? Do you mean that the trading was done using dollar, and it still is using dollar, isn't it? So if you look at Middle East, if you look at Asia, Africa, most people that they do trade. That's
right, because what you do is you control the international markets, and if you control international markets and you have a certain currency controlling that market, then you basically control a lot of what other countries in terms of their economy, how they trade, etc. For example, Saddam Hussein threatened to go to euro. I mean, you can say that's part of the reasons why you had the first war and the second war. Etc. Because he was Gulf Wars. Okay. Because he was someone who didn't seem to conform to American hegemony.
Just to clarify, I know there's a EU referendum and what's the unity and all of this is it's a big subject, and we want to have a bite size so our listeners can understand, how this works. So EU, what are the main components that bonds them? So you're saying their trade. Obviously, the laws, some of the laws that are made are from Brussels. Isn't that the case? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've tried to create a European identity. That's the thing, an identity where anyone in Europe. That's why you have the Schengen countries and you had the euro. Obviously, Britain wasn't part of the euro, and also it wasn't part of the Schengen agreement, because remember, Britain has a colonial past. It was a very great nation. Mm-hmm. So for them to sit down with other people who they before were commanding and considering, thinking about colonizing and helping low people.
Do you think Britain has or UK has some sort of arrogancy? Is that what you're trying to say?
It's well, they haven't. They still think that they're great nation. They haven't realized the reality that they're not actually no more the British Raj. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem.
Even though Britain, is part of EU, but if you look at the currency, still kept is pound, and with other countries like Germany, they actually change their currency to euro. So. Why is that? I mean,
I think this is what Carol's saying, isn't it? Britain has always been in two minds in terms of whether to go in or not, and they've always been trying to negotiate a better deal within the EU, if you like. Yeah, so their entry will have to have sort of like special terms and conditions, if you like, because they feel that, hold on a minute, we are actually better than all these other countries. So at a two-tier sort of like a euro might be something what Britain is actually looking for, where certain nations will have the sort of like upper hand and better sort of like.
Well, look, they talk about their national interest, isn't it? I mean, when Cameron goes to discuss, he's going there saying he wants to get the best for Britain. You see,
the euro is just an experiment. The European Union is an experiment. What is to raise above, if you like, the race relations and race unity that they have.
The bond, you mean?
The bond that they have, yeah. But the thing is, these bonds are still there. So Britain, not even Britain, I mean, people English, I mean, there's discussion of...
Well, you can see the cracks, isn't it?
The cracks are there. Look, Scottish, and they had recently referendum about independence, and Britain still wants to control Scotland, so, they didn't, even though there was about 47% voting for independence, and there was huge turnout, So the cracks
I think they are thinking of another vote,
it's
isn't
possible it might happen.
Okay.
But so this superficial bond that they created, which is euro, and people are finding cracks in that now, because Britain really does it want to sit down with people that it liberated and people that who have no have really done not much compared to what they see as world powers.
Okay.
So like
what's
Poland
the
or
consequences of
Bulgaria.
Britain pulling out?
Consequence of Britain pulling out.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you think they'll lose a lot? Do you think there's trade? They will lose a lot of trade, because I mean, London is almost a financial center. Really.
Yeah, no, I think that I think they're not worried about. I think Europe needs Britain, because Britain has got clout in the world. So Europe, Britain realized that it is needed. At the end of the day, we had this European project.
So it has the upper hand.
Europe does have an upper hand.
No, I mean
Britain does
yeah.
have an upper hand. But how much concession Europe willing to make, I'm not sure, to have Britain still in there. I mean, the euro itself really has been largely a failure, because not being able to control some of the smaller countries like Greece and so on, where Europe had to fund huge amounts of money. Britain didn't have to do that, because it managed to stay away from the euro.
They pumped a lot of money in Greece to bail them out, isn't it? Okay, let me just go back to last week, because I want to discuss where you find that actually now, like you said, that they're trying to unite. The cracks are showing in their relationship. Yeah. So last week we had the show on 3rd of March, 1924, where we saw the end of Islamic unity as a form of caliphate. Yeah. European countries, including UK, were instrumental in dividing the Muslim world, as they sold the idea that division as a form of strength. So to divide the Muslim countries is somehow is strength. Yeah. Yet we find that today we are endlessly working to keep, or they are endlessly working to keep, the EU united. Do we sense a double standard here?
Look, hang on. You're saying they're trying to endlessly keep it united, yeah? But somebody looking at the EU referendum would say, no, they're not trying to keep it united. There's this huge struggle to try and come. A lot of people want to come out of it. Yeah?
No,
so how is it they're trying to unite?
The thing UK wants to come out. That's fine. But if you look at all the other Europeans, they want to, because they know with unity, the trade.
No, I think the struggle is this. They believe in race identity, and an identity based on nationalistic, racist basis. Yeah. Now, what they were trying to do was trying to overcome that and come on a different identity. That identity is capitalism. The problem with that capitalism is certain nations benefited from it, other nations didn't. Other nations lost. So that's when the cracks come out. It's like, look, you talk about this big Euro nation, and I'm meant to be part of it. How comes you lot are benefiting more out of it, and I'm not benefiting much?
Whatever the case, sorry, I'm just going to pin down some points here. They are benefiting. If you compare European countries, even Greece, and you compare, I don't know, one of the countries from Asia or Middle East or Africa, it's miles apart. It's completely different. The development of education, the development of technology, the developments of, you go into a city, you can see the difference. Yeah. So yes, there is, with unity, they are benefiting. Yeah.
But that unity, like brother Samad was saying, if it was a two-tier unity, then they would have been fine. Yeah, that we want the best.
Is that
bits
what
out of it.
Most probably that's what they're trying to create, isn't it?
I mean, look at the racism. I mean, Archbishop of Canterbury today, Justin Welby, I think his name is, today is saying it's not racist, yeah, to think that the impact of immigration in this country and to worry about the immigration in this country. Yeah, and
I think the three main issues that this whole EU discussion brings to surface is about immigration. Actually, one of the issues is immigration. The other one is about economy, and the third is about sovereignty. And these, it's along these sort of like three issues that the whole discussion is.
I think it's a valid point, because UKIP were the ones that actually they had 5 million votes because of the immigration issue that they've raised. Now, going back to my the question or the point that I want to make is basically, look, here European countries, including the UK, they want to somehow hold on to the European Union, but whereas we find that they were very instrumental in terms of dividing the Muslim world, or even now they are. More division is better for them.
Yeah, they're talking
and
about
they're telling us,
splitting up
look,
Syria at the moment, for example. As a way forward. So I mean, they will always advocate further division within the Muslim world, and somehow present that as a way forward, as something that will bring about stability and is better. But on their part, they are actually trying to unite and keep together. Of course, there are going to be issues. The fact is, like, there are historical issues, and because there are people that view the whole world through race and heritage and culture and things like this.
The point. Sorry. The point I want to make is, last week we had the show 3rd of March 1924, where we saw the end of Islamic ruling, and after that we saw the division of the Muslim world. So they divided the Muslim lands into 52 or 50 odd nations.
That's right.
And all the nations were told, look, this is good for you. Whereas here, yes, there may be a discussion where they want to maybe somehow, there's some issues that they're having, but end of the day they are looking at best option for the European nations to stay together.
I know you look, last week you discussed 3rd of March. I think what it is, we're talking about the Khilafah and the system that the Euro, for example, that's happening. The Khilafah system is not an imperialistic system. It was never an imperialistic system. So when it was united, the people were united, and everyone within the different states was benefiting. If you look at Britain, why isn't Scottish? They still feel being colonized. Yeah, it's because Britain. Yeah, even though you had Scotland and Ireland and Wales and the rest of the world, it was a colony. Yeah,
okay.
So it was an imperialistic nation, and they have this mentality within Europe. So it's very hard that they realize the importance of unity, but it's very hard for them to unite. Whereas the Muslims, it was very easy to be united. There was no problems. Yeah, because the Islamic ruling system, the Khilafah system, it is not an imperialistic system. And it doesn't, take resources from everywhere else and put it into as one place.
Because before that, you're talking about the Ottoman Empire. Before that, they didn't have nation states. So Iraq wasn't a nation.
No,
the Mosul and all of these places were cities, but it wasn't a nation as such, was it?
These places, people you would be able to move around anywhere in the world. So if you look at the time of when Spain we had the Khilafah in Spain. We had from India, we had a person from India who became the Sheikh al-Islam in Spain.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And then he went to Egypt and he settled there without any problems. It's just the thing is, how do you divide the people? And the way to divide the people is you give them a different identity, and that identity is not based on a belief. So
I mean, between Britain and France, but they arbitrarily basically just carved out the entire Middle East. Not even physically knowing what these places are, how they appear. They just literally on the map itself, they just carved that line. So this is why if you look at Africa and if you look at the Middle East, you will find that there are straight line borders to sort of like split the lands. I mean,
do you think it's possible for the Muslim world, especially Middle East, because we share one belief, yeah, and we share Islam, and our culture is quite similar in terms of family values and all of this stuff, yeah? Do you think we can have an union like EU? And do you think it is possible to unite the nations?
I don't think it should be a union like the EU, because what it has revealed, actually, this referendum actually reveals the depth of the disunity that actually exists within the people in Europe. So even within Britain itself, people are actually questioning what their identity truly is.
Okay.
And people are now, maybe 10 years...
sense their identity crisis.
I'll tell you, 10 years ago, people were actually talking about a European identity, and a lot of people would actually describe themselves as a European, whereas right now,
so he's going to just don't worry, jump in.
You know what you say, it just reminded me of something. Look, in this country, we talk about the Europes coming in and taking the resources. The
Polish and
the Polish and in Spain, there's about 300,000 British in Spain, and they talk about the English and the British exactly similar. These people, they don't want to assimilate. Actually, they take everything.
I have this quote actually. Look, the problem is that these people are rubbish in their own country, and they come over here. They bring nothing except problems. They have no interest in learning about us or our ways, and they just live amongst themselves. And this is actually a quote by a Spaniard. All right, talking about the Britons living in Spain. And this is how they are. They don't integrate. Yet they talk about, Muslims who migrate or even Muslims that live within UK, even as British citizens. As these people, don't like to integrate. They don't want to learn our culture.
What is...
Sorry, brother, go on.
What I would like to say is really the discussion is on unity. How do we unite? And the difference between the Khilafah, the way united people, and the way which European project is trying to unite people.
But what I was saying, can the Muslim land, can they have this kind of union, what they have now?
You see,
so for example, if you look at Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Jordan, can they have like a...
You see, the problem with identity, how you identify...
MU.
The problem is how you identify, how you unite. You can have this kind of umbrella organization unity. The problem is you can see, like we talked about, there's so much cracks. Why? Because the basis of the unity between individuals is this race and this artificial identifications that they have. I think we need to raise above that, and the Muslims Khilafah actually raises above that. It doesn't look at people's skin color. It doesn't look at which language they speak. It doesn't look at which land that they are born in or which part of land that they're born in. All humans are humans, and everyone. So it raises above that and says everyone can live together. And it puts a justice system in place so that they're not fighting with each other. You see. And that's the kind of unity that would, solve the problem of
the union that you're talking about. We already have one in the Muslim world, which is the OIC, isn't it? And not many of us probably know about it, but they're just
it's not much. It's not
exactly.
It's quite impotent, isn't it? Let me just quickly look at some of our texts that's been coming through. I'll read them out, and if you feel that you need to make any comments, then please do so. So the first text says, EU would never remain united as each country, particularly UK, is always only seeking its own national interest. That's their first text. I'll read out another one. How will EU referendum affect Muslims in UK and EU? I think that's a very good question, actually.
Well, if you actually look at the three key issues that surface with the discussion of EU referendum, which is one is about identity, the other is about sovereignty, and the third is about the economics. And if you actually look into these things, none of these things really mean much for Muslims living here in the UK. In fact, we are actually seen as a problem. So one of the issues is about migration, and if you look at like what's happening in Syria and the mass migration that is taking place, part of this whole thing is about actually how to deal with that issue as a problem. Do you see? And one of the part of the deal that Britain is trying to get is that we don't want to take the migrants. You deal with
They
it.
haven't taken many
Exactly.
compared to Germany and
So,
some other
that's
European
right.
countries.
So I mean, these are some of the things that they're trying to negotiate. Look, we don't want to be burdened with those migrants, coming into the to Europe.
Okay.
So
okay.
if we had these free borders and whatnot, Britain is worried that it will have to deal with a lot of.
So how would Muslims
I would say,
respond, and what should we do? I mean, do we have any role to play here?
Of course, look, in the world, there is an Islam, and as a result of that, people are oppressed. And this is oppression, if you like, in Europe as well, where nations and race fight with each other, and everyone's trying to, get the extra benefit. So Britain wants this special relationship that Brother Samad talked about. What Muslims need to do is we need to do our dawah to Islam, and dawah to people in terms of Allah has given us an intellect. Why unite on trivial issues that you had no choice over? Why unite over just because you're a certain land? We need to do the dawah to that, and they say, look, Allah has given us a system where unity is based on justice.
So we have a definition of unity. Is that
right.
what you're saying?
Yeah,
so
and we need to do the dawah to that, where we unite all of the different nations. It sees human as a human, rather than human as a British or a African or a black or Asian, or this and that. You see,
I think what the West has failed to do is really to be that melting pot where it really brings people together and harmonizes the situation and makes people into one. If you look at America, you find
in America they've got issues with the black and
the Mexicans.
You
see, so it's never a melting pot because their whole view on sort of like humanity is through the prism of race. So if you see, this is racism, really. Each of these European and Western countries, they're all racist people. Right, whether they
you don't mean general people, obviously.
No, obviously, what I mean, actually, sorry, just to clarify, it's racism institutionalized. Not saying that people are racist, but it's racism institutionalized through nation
Thank you
states.
for clarifying
I'm
that,
glad you
because
said that, because
I'm glad you said that. I mean, there are people that are actually fighting for justice.
Of course, there are definitely. Yeah.
People bond together because they need protection and they need. So it's natural that you don't
think
have.
That's a human nature.
It's a human nature
to
bond, But it's natural when that's why the Muslims is so much more important. Why? Because Allah has given us a system and way to bond human beings where it's not based on trivial issues. If people don't know about this, then obviously they're going to bond in other ways.
So what's the correct bond? I mean, there's many bonding that we talk about. The nationalistic bonding, we have the emotional bonding. What's the correct bonding that you would say?
See, Muslims bond through the aqidah of Islam, meaning the ideology, the viewpoint to life, the creed, our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heavens and the earth. It's through that we understand unity. So this is where, Muslims, they from day one, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with the establishment of the Islamic State in Medina, we saw it became a clear example, a melting pot where the black, the white, the poor, the rich, everyone was able to live in harmony, and nobody was viewed through this, idea or prism of race.
Okay, and that's what.
And that had been the example. Really, that had become the example, and this is how Islam was able to spread so rapidly,
So a black leader, you can have a black leader. You don't have to wait for.
The bondage you saw in the Americans, the black slavery, and in Islam, if you look at the even time of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we had Bilal, Bilal radiallahu anhu. He was a black man, and he became really the muaddin of the masjid, and that's the thing. Wherever Islam went, it united
his status
people.
was very high amongst the Sahabas.
That's right.
He's a prominent Sahabi.
That's right. And there's so many sayings of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that Arab and non-Arab are no different between them.
And the black and the white
and
the
only
different.
thing the only thing that's different, somebody who's more closer to Allah, somebody who's worshipping Allah, realize the purpose of life. And that's the only thing that makes it one person higher and lower. You see.
So I think I'm going to read out another question, and then we want to move on to the next story, which is Pakistan issue. So let me just quickly read out. Are you saying that being patriotic and lobbying for sovereignty for UK is wrong? Then the second text is, should Britain not become independent? I think we've discussed that, but if you guys want to make a last point, then do so, please.
No, I think...
I think maybe we didn't discuss much about in terms of how it really affects Muslims living here in the UK. I mean, I had a discussion with somebody, and they were saying, please vote for in EU, yeah, meaning, yeah. And
Okay.
I said, I asked him,
Is that Muslim?
Yes, it's a Muslim, yeah. And I said, you are working to keep Europe united. Yeah, I understand. Fair enough. Have you done anything to unite the Muslim world?
Okay.
And
But maybe he doesn't know what is unity in the Muslim world. I mean, look, we've seen so many nations. Yeah, like you said, there is this. What was it?
OIC.
Yeah. So really, it's
No, I mean, Kamal, look, I totally understand. Yeah, look, if we judge actions based on a benefit, let's say what's beneficial for the Muslim, it's to vote yes. Yeah, that means we are more protected in Europe. The legislations, otherwise
we'll get more immigration in. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
And,
So
you can move around Europe for businesses and so on, and you can, So if you're looking at from the premises of benefit, then. But the thing is, we are, like I was saying,
I think that's a very good point you've made in terms of benefit.
What we want to say is, how do we look at these issues? Do we look at it from the process of benefit, or do we look at it from a different issue? And every action, everything that we look at for the Muslim is the worship to Allah Ta'ala. Yeah, and from that point of view, you say, look, Europe is a group of racist countries, bonding together. So we need to, do the dawah from that point of view. Say, look, this is the wrong bond. Yeah, the capitalist bond is wrong, and this racist bond is wrong, and we need to come out of that and have a different bond. Yeah, where we together we worship Allah Ta'ala, and we have these rules that affects saves humanity.
Fantastic. I think we'll leave that topic here. I think that's we've had quite a lot of discussion. But if you want to continue with this discussion, please, you can join in our Twitter, and you can send your views. Anyway, let's go to Pakistan. Over 30,000 Muslims in Pakistan turned out for the funeral of Mumtaz Qadri, who was a former bodyguard who killed Salman Taisir. Taisir, I think that's Taisir, governor of Punjab, over his opposition to blasphemy law. Can you guys can you explain to our viewers exactly what took place and how to understand the situation? Yeah, brother.
Okay, so we're talking about Mumtaz in Pakistan, who was last week he was hanged.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was hanged secretly. His family was told that night that he's unwell, sick, and if they come and see him.
So he was hanged because he killed Salman Taisir, yeah, the governor of Punjab.
Yeah, so it was done secretly first, and there's reasons why it was done.
So
secretly.
why did he kill him? Just go back a little bit. What was the reality?
Basically, a Christian lady was accused and tried for blasphemy, and
blasphemy meaning that she said something against Islam.
Something against Islam, maybe something against the Prophet or something. Yeah. I don't know the details of that, but anyway, she was convicted in the lower courts.
Okay,
and but then this has to be now approved by the higher court before any punishment can be issued. Yeah. And Salman Taisir, basically he intervened to some extent, where he and in the process he commented on the blasphemy law, and he said it's a dark, it's from the
Dark
ages or something like this, and archaic, something like this, and basically I believe Qadri was actually his
bodyguard,
security, yes, and he actually killed him, and from there he became a national hero, actually. Millions. I don't know where you get 30,000, but the pictures I saw.
This is what I've got from your BBC News and stuff. So I'm assuming that.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously it could be more.
I'll tell you what I saw is like millions, literally millions. In every town, every city. People just flooding the streets in support.
In support of him killing.
That's right. Yeah, because they said they saw him as a hero who stood up for Islam to protect the honor of the Prophet ﷺ. And the interesting thing is there was a complete media blackout on this issue in Pakistan even. And anything that came out had to come out through social media and things like this. And some of the images I saw was amazing.
We saw a stark difference between government and public sentiments over this issue. Why is that?
I think this is very, very important. I mean,
because I think that's the point we need to understand.
I think this is the key issue that should concern us Muslims, wherever we are. And this is the issue that the rulers in the Muslim world, the governments in the Muslim world are clearly not representative of the sentiments, the beliefs, the values of the Ummah. When Muslims, we love Islam, we want to live by Islam, we want to establish unity on the basis of Islam, we find our rulers are completely opposed to this, and they are continuously trying to please their Western masters.
Surely you are not saying that it's okay for him to kill because of kill Mr. Salman.
Well, had there been an Islamic system in place, then these issues would have been dealt with appropriately. Obviously,
I mean, we don't agree with just taking life because you feel. I mean, it needs to go through, like you said, it needs to go through, even under Islamic.
And we can't expect this in places like Pakistan. The government, the court, the judiciary. This is we can't expect anything good from these.
But what I'm saying is, you can't. The Muslim cannot go in and say, "Well, look, I'm going to kill him because he says something about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam." My point is that look, there must be another way. The Muslims, if they are the grievances that they have, they need to somehow channel it somewhere else.
Can I narrate an incident from the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
And
it's related.
I want to come back to that.
It's related. Yeah. Actually, a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he told him that he killed his wife.
Okay.
And then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to find out what happened, and he explained, look, she used to always curse Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he would tell her not to do it, and then she would do it again, and then he would tell her again, don't do it, and then she would do it again, and then one day basically she just he
hit her, and
he hit her with something,
and she happens to die. Yeah.
So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam pardoned him.
But what I'm saying, that was under the state. That was under the law of Islam. Yeah?
That's right.
So you can't have someone just taking.
I mean, from that,
I can't go around applying hudud now,
no,
can I?
No. But what I'm saying is, but the person who killed his wife didn't exactly apply hudud. As a part of the state.
Look, he went to the courts. So, for example,
no, he didn't go to the courts.
No, but what I meant that Rasulullah sallallahu was the judge. Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. So he made the judgment saying, okay, that's fine, or what you did, whatever the reality was, yeah. But here, this person, he's a bodyguard, and this the governor, he made it. He was against the.
So what I'm saying is here, if Mumtaz Qadri was to be presented to the Khalifa at this moment, for example, or the Amir of the Muslims, or the courts, the Sharia courts, and the Islamic authority, whatever the verdict would be.
Yeah, but that's fine. I appreciate that.
Can I just interject here? That's okay.
We can come in. Sorry, we're having a heated debate here.
That's fine. Carry on. Salman Taseer, he was close associate of Asif Ali Zardari, so he was quite high up, and he was seen as the most liberal politician in the country. So it wasn't just one comment that we're talking about. He was a proponent of very secular, anti-religion sentiments in the country, and he wanted to change laws and things like that, including the blasphemy law. So obviously if somebody's a bodyguard, then they see that. The problem is on any when in any state, including the Islamic State, when a belief is protected, then you have a system which deals with it.
Absolutely.
And then when you don't have a system that deals with it, what happens? People, look for other ways of showing their anger. So in this country, for example, you had, when the black Mark Duggan got killed, you had everyone rioting because they felt, the black people are not valued. Or in America, it happens all the time. These kind of things. So the people start taking the law in their own hand. So the way I would see what happened here is a bodyguard saw something, and he just felt, he took the law in his own hand because he didn't see that being protected. But the natural thing to do was to do what? Is to have, these laws and to be tried in court and the judgment to happen. I think, and then take his course.
But my point is that, look, why isn't the Muslims in Pakistan, demonstrating or looking for alternative means of rules? Why are they not accounting the government? Look, there's many other ways.
That's a problem. I mean, it is seen as Pakistan was formed on the basis of Islam, and the people think that Pakistan and the government protects Islam, and that's why
Islamic
is Islamic. I mean, they are portrayed as Islamic. So even this incident, like you were saying, that there's a sentiment which is different from the laws. So why was it that Qadi, he was executed at secretly? That's because the sentiment in the country. The sentiment in the country was
because even the government knew that really this guy is he had a lot of people that were actually the public. The public was entirely on the side of Qadri.
Okay.
And the government knew that had they executed him publicly, it could have caused some serious issues.
I mean, nobody even spoke, even the people in the authorities. I mean, it's interesting.
Media blackout, really, wasn't
media
it?
blackout, and BBC asked, the military leader of that region, why he hasn't spoken out against, Qadi.
Wow.
And he said, look, I can't speak out against him because, some of the people
that I
command.
Military leader.
Okay.
Wow.
Some of the people within my military, support his view. So I can't really, I need to be hush. I need to be quiet. But at the end of the day, there is this gap between the people and the sentiments of the people and those people who are ruling, and that what it is to secularize that whole nation. So there is a plan to secularize.
There's a massive agenda. I mean, actually immediately after.
And when we discuss Bangladesh election,
Brother will finish and then you can jump.
When we discuss Bangladesh, I think I can give you a bit more, meat on that.
Yeah, that's good. Sorry,
immediately after, Theresa May actually. Made a lot of comments on this. I think maybe she met somebody from Pakistan, some senior official or something, and they had some discussion. I read the article anyway, and they're talking about and they're pushing this secular agenda now. They are saying, look, yes, you need to conform with human rights and this and this, and these laws are outdated and things like this. So we are, and then she's saying, look, we're lobbying the Pakistani government and making recommendations and suggestions and things like this. And then in the end, she says, but at the end of the day, it's down to the public of Pakistan, which is a lot of nonsense, really. Rather, these were the instructions given to, those people in parliament and in government in Pakistan to really follow. Do you see? To further secularize Pakistan.
Okay. Now, my point is, I want to maybe just finish off this news headline is, how did Muslims or the Sahabas or the Khulafas or the Khalif in the past deal with blasphemy law? How did they deal with this blasphemy law?
Well, definitely. I mean, if Islam is your state, meaning your state is built on the foundation of Islam, surely you would protect Islam. Surely you would protect anything that is from Islam, and definitely you would protect the honor.
Is there anything like a blasphemy law in this country? Is there anything like that? Because obviously they have this free speech. You can say whatever you want to say. Liberal values. You can, certain things you can't say.
Yeah, except
maybe not curse the Queen or something. I don't know if you can do that. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if there is anything to that extent.
Okay,
maybe.
Brother Khalil, do you want to add something? How would Islam deal with that?
Here, they're talking about rooting out extremists and things like this. And who are the extremists? Extremists are those who advocate an alternative system, which is Islam. Anybody who talks about Khilafah, they'll be reported. So
Look, every country and every nation, they have things that are very sacred.
They have their red lines,
sacred, and they call these red lines. And in this country, for example, it's sacred, and they are now adding to this sacred. So, for example, in this country, to now criticize democracy, to actually criticize the institutions, or to talk about the military and so on. These are becoming red lines, and if you look at Prevent, you're going to get reported if you talk about any of these in a negative way.
We do have a show on Prevent. You can go online and listen to that show. So that will be Middle Path Radio. You can go on YouTube and we have that show. Sorry, I just had to put that in. Okay, let's move on to Bangladesh. Last week we heard Bangladesh may drop Islam as country's official religion. My God, why is that? Considering 90% of the people are Muslims. Hey?
Like I said, I'm not shocked at all. I know about this. I don't see this much separately from the issue in Pakistan. It's the same thing. You find the rulers, the ruling elites, they are completely disconnected from the people.
Okay.
They're not of the people. They don't represent the people in any way whatsoever. And they are they follow the dictates of Western powers,
Yep.
Washington and London, This is where all the policies are made, and this is where all the issues. If you look at in the last decade or so, there's been a lot of insult, a lot of attacks that came out against the Prophet ﷺ through Western media and things like this. We had no response whatsoever from any of the governments, any of the countries, Muslim countries, who came out. Nobody came out.
That's
but
true.
you had Charlie Hebdo, the office of Charlie Hebdo being attacked. We find all the Muslim leaders, they actually came out in solidarity and in support.
Yeah.
Now, doesn't that tell us something? Doesn't that tell us that these people are actually completely not representing the Ummah? So the Ummah is lacking representation in politics and, in the world stage. And this is the very reason why we find that Muslims are suffering across the world. And this is the reason why Muslims need to come together, start thinking about.
So what does it
issues.
mean if it gets rid of? Just sorry for our viewers, because I'm a little not clear on that. So what does it mean if they get rid of Islam religion as a state? Is it because they want to present themselves as secular, liberal?
Let's discuss it a bit more. Let's go back a bit. If you look at the Hasina government, Hasina government. The reason why they came to power and with the blessings of America and Britain and India as well, is
because Muslim countries is a blessing.
It's the secular nature of they are actively and openly, they will say we're secular and we want to create a secular country, Bangladesh into a secular. Bangladesh generally, the sentiments over 90% are Muslims, and they want to live by Islam, and they have Islamic values. They want to live according to those values. But if you look at Hasina's government, I mean, straight away when they first came in, we had the massacre of the BDR. These were, Bangladesh border guards.
Mhm.
They were very Islamic in terms of sentiments, and they really did not like Indians in that sense. So you had that. And then after that, it has been one after another continuous attack on the values of Islam. So you've had the banning of Islamic groups, anyone who's calling for Islamic political Islam, whether it's Hizb ut-Tahrir or Jamaat Islami, and imprisoning these leaders, their leaders, the banning of books. So books
there was a massive gathering of Jamiat Ulama, which was also attacked.
Yeah, I was going to come back to that. 1 second, just before that. I mean, they had, Maulana Maududi. He's a well-known revivalist in terms of scholars who published books in terms of how Islam because Islam, we cannot, put Islam into a compartment. What Hasina wants to do is to put Islam into a compartment.
Okay.
And as a result of that, she's a champion, because this is what the West or any capitalist nation wants to do. Islam is the only alternative to the way the world is organized, and nobody from these capitalist nations wants that to be outside the box. And Bangladesh, being such a massive in terms of population and in terms of sentiments, being Islam, it needs to be curtailed. Otherwise, this is possible. You can
Very
appear
interesting
there.
point, actually.
Yeah.
Abdul Samad,
This is the reality across the Muslim world.
Okay.
Actually, there's another piece of news that just came in this week, and this is where Egypt is now banning the niqab.
Wow.
Yeah, Egypt is banning niqab. Yeah, so you can see. I mean, this is the whole secularization process, if you like, and these.
Yeah, I mean, if you like, their role model is Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. Hasina's role model is Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. Who was Mustafa Kemal Atatürk? You need to understand that. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk was a Turkish national hero, father of nation. Yeah, and the kind of impositions he did. Obviously, in Bangladesh at this time, she's not able to do it all at once. So what did he do? He changed Arabic. He didn't allow adhan in Arabic. He didn't allow men to go to Jummah. He didn't allow he changed the Arabic alphabet.
Let me just quickly take you guys back to Bangladesh. I mean, I have quite a lot of texts here, so I'm going to read those out, and please feel free to comment on those. I mean, some of them are comments and questions, so I'll read them out. The first one says, the hope for Islamic revival in Bangladesh appears to be rather bleak. What advice will the panelists give to us? The second, shall I read all of them out, or you want to? Okay. Second one is, given that the current dictatorship is curbing all Islamic organizations, what is the future of Muslims in Bangladesh? How come there isn't a reprisal from the Muslim population in Bangladesh? So I think what they were saying is, if you look at Pakistan, what they did about second with Mumtaz, and what's happening in Bangladesh, is there a demonstration? Is there uproar? Is there anything like that in Bangladesh?
No, the hope isn't bleak. Actually, it's the other way around, I would say. You have a government which is a proponent of secular capitalism, and they are trying everything to try and change the values within Bangladesh, and you can see the political Islam still raises its head. It's just amazing, and that's why the government, even though they would love to straight away remove Islam, they would love to remove the hijab. I mean, they already had court cases where they tried to remove them. They made it illegal for colleges to have part of the uniform, jilbab and hijab. These things are already there. Yeah, but the way they're doing it is slowly trying to introduce this kind of through the back door. So this discussion of removing Islam from politics. How are they raising it? They're using issues like these some of the atheist bloggers that have been killed. Yes, obviously, this is why is this happening. like the discussion we had earlier in terms of the issue of Pakistan, where people are taking the law in their own hand because they don't see their values being protected. But these issues are being used to actually say, okay, we need to remove Islam from politics, from state religion. What would that allow us to do? We would allow us to, anyone. We don't need to protect. We don't need to, come up with Islamic values.
I think this whole thing may appear very bleak, like the comment that has come in, and if you actually look at the life and the work of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the early years, the first 13 years, things did get very difficult. Things did
a hard
look
time
bleak.
for them.
That's right. And the situation came to a point where, it seemed like, it's just hopeless. It's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came. And if you actually look at what's happening throughout the whole world, to me, I look at it in the sense that, it's a sign of desperation for the powers that exist today. It's actually a response, a reaction, a desperate reaction when they're now talking about ban this, ban that, and ban closed mosques, ban Islamic political parties. This is a sign of desperation, and
I think you just said, I quite like the point that you've made, that the Quraysh, they were desperate, isn't it?
That's right.
That's when they start torturing and they start physically harming the Sahabas and Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So I think, is that what you're linking now?
Yes, definitely I am, yeah. I mean, at the moment in Bangladesh, I personally know two members of my extended family, who are actually in prison in Bangladesh at the moment from Sylhet, and they affiliate with an Islamic political party, and the crimes are the crime is that they were distributing leaflets outside the mosque.
Just leaflets.
And we used to talk about these things like in places like Uzbekistan and other places,
why,
where there were serious proper dictators. But now you're seeing this in places like Bangladesh as well,
So you can see why. I mean, the government is very, very clever in terms of to raise the issue of Islam, removing Islam as a state religion, because they're saying that these fundamentalists are taking over and these bloggers being killed. They're using those kind of issues.
Yeah, terrorism. I mean, they're linking everything to terrorism.
Yeah,
isn't it?
they're linking everything to terrorism, and therefore we need to remove Islam from this discussion. Yeah. But there's this thing that Samad is talking about, where there's double standards here. Yeah. So when there's double standards, what happens? People feel they're not protected. So these bloggers and so on. We saw earlier in 2003 there was a demonstration outside. Even they were cussing Allah Ta'ala in these demonstrations, and these people were not picked up. Whereas at the same time we had in 2003 Hafazat Islam who came out for Islam, and there was a huge crackdown on them.
I think there was over 1 million people turned out on that.
And many of them and the government came down heavily.
There was a massacre actually. There was a massacre. I remember seeing
in the middle of the night because
let me just finish my point.
Sorry, we just got a bit excited there.
That's fine. And now I forgot my point.
There you have it. Thank you, Abdul Samad.
The point I just wanted to add is that they actually cracked down. They came down on the demonstrators in the middle of the night, where there would be no media and things like this.
No, but going back to my point is that when you have these double standards, those people, they have certain values. Their values are not being addressed. And then when their values are not being addressed, all sorts of things happen, and you do have this kind of lawlessness that's happening. But what the government is doing is playing it in its own hand, rather than addressing these legitimate issues. Yeah, if you're going to address the bloggers, you need to also address those people. Yeah. You need to have consistency. Yeah?
Absolutely,
in your judgment.
I mean, this highlights their agenda, isn't it? Really, more than anything else. Their agenda is to sort of like drive Islam out, and bring Western secularism in. That's their agenda.
Okay, fantastic. I think we've discussed quite a lot on Bangladesh, so let's end it here. I think we've got. Can
I just add one point? This whole thing about Islam being the state religion, recognized official state religion. A lot of people might be very satisfied with something like this, but really, even that, what is it worth?
Yeah.
It's really not worth much. Do you see? You know,
Because they're not really implementing Islam, are they?
No, that's right. That's right. So, you know, having recognition as a state religion is really neither here nor there. And as Muslims, I think we need to realize, Islam isn't our state religion. Rather, our state is based on Islam itself, and that's the sort of thinking that we need to adopt.
On this final note, we'll have to end it here. I think the time's up. So inshallah, I'd just like to I'd like to end by thanking our guest for coming in and giving us a perspective on these news headlines.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair, brothers. And a special thanks to all our listeners. I hope you can join us next week at Straight Talk. You can follow us on Twitter at Middle Path Radio and continue with this discussion, inshallah. Also, if there are any topics or issues that you would like us to cover, please contact us via our Twitter account. Again, thank you for listening to Middle Path Radio. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.